Today, we uncover a story most people never hear about. It's a tale of money, power, and a secret that changed the world. In the early 1900s, a young man arrived in New York with nothing but a dream. His name was Charles, and he saw opportunity where others saw chaos. The stock market was a wild west, and he intended to tame it, but he didn't play by the rules. He rewrote them. With a few clever moves, he amassed a fortune that rivaled the banks. But wealth attracts enemies, and Charles made a powerful one. J.P. Morgan himself took notice, and he was not pleased. Morgan controlled the money supply. He decided who lived and who died financially. Charles had challenged that control, and that was a death sentence. So Morgan launched a secret war, a financial attack unlike any before. He spread rumors. He called in loans. He choked off Charles's credit. Within weeks, Charles's empire began to crumble. He fought back. He tried to raise cash, but the doors were slammed shut. On a cold October morning, Charles made a desperate move. He gathered his last allies in a secret meeting. They planned a counterstrike that would shake Wall Street to its core. But Morgan had spies everywhere. He knew every move before it was made. The trap was set, and Charles walked right into it. His fortune evaporated overnight. He was left with nothing but debts. The newspapers called it the Great Ruin. They mocked him. But Charles wasn't dead. He was just waiting. He had one last card to play, a secret he had kept for years. That secret was a document, a contract, signed by the most powerful men in America. It proved that Morgan had conspired to fix the markets. For decades, Charles threatened to release it, unless Morgan gave him back everything. Morgan laughed, but inside, he was terrified. But the cracks in the empire were already forming, hidden beneath layers of gold and glory. A single document, lost in a sea of paperwork, would soon unravel everything.
The man at the center of it all had a secret, one he thought was buried forever. But in the world of finance, secrets have a way of surfacing when you least expect. Whispers began to circulate among the elite, turning into a roar that couldn't be silenced. The stock market, once a playground for the rich, became a battlefield. Investors who had trusted the system were now watching their fortunes evaporate. The media, hungry for a story, began digging deeper than anyone expected. Each revelation was a hammer blow to the foundation of the empire. The first domino fell, and the chain reaction was inevitable. A single name emerged from the chaos, a name that would become synonymous with greed. But who was this person, and how did they pull off the impossible? The answer lay in a web of lies, woven so tightly that it seemed unbreakable. Every transaction, every handshake, every promise was a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle was far from complete when the first whistleblower stepped forward. Their testimony would shake the very foundations of Wall Street. But the accused had an army of lawyers ready to fight every claim. The courtroom became a theater of drama where every word was a weapon. Witness after witness took the stand, each revealing a darker layer of the scheme. The evidence piled up like a mountain of shame. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for, the confession. But was it real? Or just another layer of the deception? The public was divided. Some saw a villain, others a scapegoat. But the numbers didn't lie, and the trail of destruction was undeniable. Entire families lost their life savings, their dreams, their futures. And the mastermind behind it all? They were already planning their next move. But the game was far from over, and the hunters were closing in. The final act was about to begin, and no one would be spared. The blind trust was the perfect cover, a legal shield for a fortune built on nothing but air. Investors saw a fortress. The truth was a house of cards trembling in the wind. He hired a ghost board, names on paper, no pulse, no questions asked. The SEC had the files, but the files were fiction, crafted by a master of illusion. Every audit was a performance, and he was the star of a one-man show. The money flowed out like water through Viv and Bell companies into air. He bought yachts, jets, and islands, all on the promise of a phantom fortune. But the cracks began to show: a missed payment, a nervous phone call, a lie that wouldn't stick. One investor asked the wrong question, and the whole illusion started to unravel. He scrambled to plug the holes, but the dam was already breaking. The bank called in the loans, and the music stopped for good. He emptied the accounts and vanished, leaving only a trail of broken promises. The investors didn't know yet. They were still sipping champagne, dreaming of returns. Then the news broke like a bomb in the middle of a quiet night. Panic spread through the market like wildfire through dry grass. Lives were shattered, retirements erased, homes lost, futures stolen. He was thousands of miles away, sipping a drink on a beach he didn't own. But the world was shrinking. Extradition treaties, Interpol alerts, no place to hide. He changed his name, his face, his life, but the past had a longer memory. The feds closed in, step by step, like a net tightening around a shark. They found him in a rented villa, living on borrowed time and stolen cash. The arrest was quiet. No drama, no escape, just the end of the road. In court, the numbers told the story. $500 million gone, zero recovered. He sat silent, a man who had traded trust for trinkets, lost it all. The sentence was long enough to think about every lie he ever told. But the victims never got their money back. Just a story to tell. The scam is forgotten by most, but its echo still haunts the market. And that's the truth they never teach you. Greed is the oldest con of all. The markets collapsed collapse was a slow-motion train wreck with billions vanish in air. Investors watched their life savings evaporate, unable to stop the bleeding. Behind the scenes, the mastermind was already plotting his escape. He had set up shell companies in offshore havens, hiding the stolen cash. The SEC was closing in, but he was always one step ahead. Meanwhile, the victims were left holding worthless paper, their trust shattered. The scam was so elaborate that even seasoned analysts were fooled, but cracks began to show when a whistleblower stepped forward. That one brave soul risked everything to expose the truth. The documents revealed a web of lies stretching across continents. Regulators scrambled to freeze assets, but the damage was done. The mastermind vanished, leaving behind a trail of empty promises. He fled to a country with no extradition treaty, living like a king. But karma has a way of catching up, even in paradise. A private investigator tracked him down using old-fashioned detective work. The arrest was swift, but the trial would be a media circus. Prosecutors laid out a mountain of evidence, each piece more damning. The jury was stunned by the sheer scale of the deception. In the end, he was found guilty on all counts. The sentence was decades in prison, but the victims got nothing. The money was gone, spent on yachts, mansions, and private jets. But the story didn't end there. It sparked a global reform. New laws were passed to prevent such scams from ever happening again. Yet even today, similar schemes are being run in the shadows. The lesson is clear. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. This scam was a masterpiece of manipulation, but it was built on a lie. And in the end, the truth always wins. Stay vigilant, because the next scam is just waiting to be discovered. The whispers of a hidden ledger grew louder, each page a confession of greed. Investors who once slept soundly now found their fortunes vanishing like smoke. The architect of this scheme wore a smile that hid a blade. Behind closed doors, the numbers told a different story, one of phantom profits. Every dollar promised was a dollar stolen from the future. The market, once a temple of trust, became a theater of illusions. Whistleblowers were silenced, their warnings buried in a sea of paperwork. But one auditor refused to look away, tracing the thread of deceit. Each discovery was a crack in the dam, and the flood was coming. The mastermind panicked, burning documents that held his empire together. But smoke cannot hide the truth forever. The SEC descended like wolves on a wounded deer. Every account frozen, every lie exposed under the harsh light of investigation. Shareholders watched their life savings evaporate in a single afternoon. The trial was a circus, but the verdict was a guillotine. The con man finally spoke, but his words were hollow echoes. Investors demanded blood, and the system delivered. Prison bars closed around the man who ruled a financial kingdom, but the scars on the market ran deeper than any sentence could heal. Regulations were rewritten, but trust was a harder currency to restore. The story faded from headlines, but its lessons lingered like a ghost. Today, the same patterns echo in new markets, waiting for a new victim. Greed never dies, it just changes its disguise. The question is, will you recognize it before it's too late? History is not just a record, it's a warning written in fire. Every fortune built on sand eventually sinks beneath the tide, and the only monument left is the silence of those who lost everything. So remember this tale, for the next scam is already being written. The final act unravels with a twist no one saw coming. The mastermind behind the scam vanished into thin air. Investors lost billions, but the truth was far stranger. A forgotten letter revealed the hidden puppet master. The scam had roots in a century-old conspiracy. One whistleblower risked everything to expose the truth. The evidence was buried in a vault no one could open, but a hacker cracked the code in under an hour. The revelation shook Wall Street to its core. And the lesson? Trust nothing, verify everything.